Yo, chickadee check, y'all. Yeah, we're in the middle of getting down to some Limp Biscuit, and if you understand why, if you don't understand why, I'll explain in a second. Maybe you do. I got just a blank window here. Hang on a second. Say the word. Exit, 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 exit. I got way too many windows. Summer's almost gone. Well, all right. I'm gonna use my other microphone. This one's kind of tweaking out. I'm over here now. All right, we're back, and we're going across all time and space. Welcome to the most boring day of the year, by far. This is it. And it's warranted, expected, and welcomed. Because I think we all need a couple of days to chill out, right? After what we just went through, right? And went through in a good way, right? Since April 9th and the May 12th power gap that created the bull market that we're in that may last now for all of eternity, as every time the market pulls back, it creates new generational lows that continue to hold up. So the market we're in right now, the reason it's so super boring is that it's trying to go down. And we all know that it's not allowed to go down. So it's like fighting itself. So kind of like the Terminator, where a young John Connor asked the Terminator, why don't you just self-terminate? They're not allowed to self-terminate. So they just go into sleep mode. So the market's going into sleep mode right now. And it's going to consolidate. And the shorts, again, morons, I'm one of them, king of the morons, in fact, the master of all moronic morons is me. Every pause, every slight little pullback, the morons think that this is it. This has to be at the top. And it's never the top. Let's go back to the Matrix for a second. Remember the spoon? Once he realized there is no spoon, he became the one. And that's what you need to do. And it's taken me 30 years to become the one, because I realized that Everything that I think is absolutely wrong. Everything I think, because I legitimately think the market should go down, and it doesn't. So every day I got to remind myself, well, another day I'm going to be wrong about everything. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go with what the market tells me, and I'm going to make money and just continue to be wrong forever. And one day when I'm right, and I was right for an hour and a half, which was probably the best trade of the month. And I was right, and all I needed was that morning. And that was Wednesday morning of last week, where we actually sold off after a blow off top. We actually had follow through to the downside. I know it was insane. We actually followed through to the downside. But in that moment, if you remember that moment, the market gave you permission to stay short. And we did. And it was fantastic. Right. So what was that? That was, let's go 15 days on a minute. You could see it. I think you guys were with me. That was, we bought the puts, the 577s or the 575s at the time. Right. And, the market gave us permission to stay short. And then inevitably, right, we had a reason to short, fight, roll over, test the VWAP, test the VWAP, test the VWAP, test the VWAP. No reason to cover, no reason to cover, no reason to cover. Let's stay short. Whee! And we went down to some real specific levels, right? Remember that? Way back last week, remember? Way back last week when we had a sell-off that actually lasted. And then right at that moment where you thought this could get a lot worse, that's when you have to cover. So I'll show you how that played out today. As soon as we thought it was going to get worse, I was like, oh, that must be the end of the short. Let's cover. But you just said it's going to get worse. I know. But when you think it's going to get worse, that's when you have to cover, because the market, say it with me, never goes down. But it went down last Wednesday. Did it? Did it go down? Or did it just have a momentary sell-off, or it lasted an hour, and then it became a long trade, a faux show bro long trade, a faux show bro long trade, and we haven't even seen those lows since, which are now new generational lows until they're broken. So this morning, we went right back to the idea that shorting is short-lived and you're going to die. But the market gave us permission because it hit a top, rolled over, broke VWAP, and we got short. The whole time thinking, it's not going to last. Why are we even doing this? It's probably going to be a waste of time, but we have to keep taking the trade, because one day, maybe sometime in 2028, when the Qs are at 1,030, they will pull back more than $1. But right now, you can't even get $1 out of a $571 product that has rallied from 398 to 571 with pretty much no pulling back. Why fight it? The answer is you probably shouldn't, right? So, but we did. But we know that it's going to be short-lived and we're going to die. So we trade the VWAP break, we make our money, put our stop at the VWAP with no illusions or delusions that you're going to stay short a market that doesn't go down anymore. And if you still want to debate about this, it's going on now. When did we start doing these videos on the YouTube and the StockTwits and the stock market media? This is not something new. Oh, this guy, man, he's going to get his ass kicked being so bullish. No. Since April 9th, I have been beyond bullish. May 12th, I went psychotic bullish. I don't even know what realm I'm in now, because it's impossible to be bearish. And everything now is pointing to reasons to be bearish, because now we got the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst stocks are rallying. And I'm not talking about the wonderful Open, right? I'm not talking about the Jumamas, right, that have rallied 300% since I brought it to the room. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. From $2 to $8. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about weed stocks. I'm talking about Tilray. I'm talking about Cron. I'm talking about the MJ index itself. We are no longer in the ninth circle of hell of stocks. We are now, this is not just dashing for trash. We have dug a hole under the trash to find the dumpster juice of the trash, and we're bathing in that right now. And yet, every lesson that I've learned about trying to find a market top, because there is no top, because there is no spoon, everything that I've learned for 30 years, nothing is playing out right now. Sure, you're getting some seasonal weakness. Seasonal weakness, huh? The Qs have pulled back a whopping 10 points from all-time highs. Seasonal weakness? You're talking about 0.05% pullback after a 50% rally. Seasonal weakness? Where? So I'm your victim right now. I'm living proof that shorting the market doesn't work. I try every day. Make a little bit. Most of the time I wind up getting out flat or some small loss on whatever I've got left, just like today. So I'll keep experimenting for you. If you want to just email me every day, my email is kennyglick@aol.com. And I also am going to be putting out one of the greatest services in the history of mankind. This is what I'm working on right now. So I know not everybody wants to sit here listening to my nasal, annoying voice. Nobody wants to look at my dumb face. And a lot of people don't want to be in chat rooms. But the chat room is where it comes from. The live trading is where all the magic happens. Being around traders that make money and know what they're doing. And by the way, part of knowing what you're doing is understanding there are environments or days where it's very, very good not to trade. Not trading is trading. Not trading is professional trading, because you are good enough and you understand the market well enough to understand that the edge that you need is not there. So why try? So you just ease back. If not, don't do anything at all. And if you're going to do something, you better be so specific, stay with the name that's treating you well, and just do what you got to do as early as possible and then run. And just remember a few key phrases. Shorting is short-lived and you're going to die. Never short a dull market. And boring is bullish. So that's what we're in right now. It's a slow terminator, will not self-destruct or self-terminate market. So now the new down is up small. And I mean it. And as a bear trapped in a bull market perpetually, that's why VWAP, if you're not using it, you're going to lose money as a day trader, because if you're like me, trying to think rationally, hey, this market's rallied, we're due for a pullback. Due for doesn't work anymore. You know, this market needs to consolidate to digest these gains. That would be healthy for the market. Healthy for the market doesn't work anymore. Nothing that equals selling works anymore. Now, that's the market. Now, let's talk about my favorite short, and I hope you guys crushed it. Not Groupon. I hope you crushed the Groupon. But my favorite short over the last 3 or 4 days has been Newegg, because this is the poster child of pump and dumps right now, and I just don't understand why nobody's talking about it. This is a $3 stock that went to $140, and the other day we had a blow off top, and we crushed it on the short, and we've been short, and we continue to be short. And look at this short, and now look where it is. We got to exactly where we wanted to go to. So this is what we call the Jerry Orbach trade. Underappreciated actor of a generation, Jerry Orbach, where the stock has given it all back. Jerry Orbach. So now the easy money on this trade is over. But I want to set this one up for you over the next couple of days, because this piece of garbage, worthless piece of nothing that went from 3 to 140, they're reporting earnings. They're reporting earnings in a couple of days. And now if you say prayer to the stock gods, and again, do not hold this stock going into the earnings, short or long, because nobody knows what it's going to do. It could be up 130 points, and it could just open up at 0. So we're going to root for the big up day, because if they have the nerve, the balls, the chutzpah, or the will, or the manipulation of skills, or the rigging, if they could rip this thing up back to those highs up there, and this becomes an earnings reversal on the way down, I'm legitimately going to borrow money from everybody I can find to short the stock. And not with 200 shares. I'm talking about putting on a $10 million trade because I'm going to break this stock over my knee and send it to zero if that setup happens. Because right now, I'm living La Vida Loca. I destroyed it on this name, right? And not monetarily, but psychologically, I've destroyed it because I got short up here, milked this bad boy as much as I possibly could. Wish I had thousands and thousands of shares. I didn't. But if they try to bring this thing back up there again and we get a chance to reverse it on earnings day, oh. So keep this beef negamaki ready to go. And hopefully they create options that are real, because right now they're all split adjusted garbage options on this thing. They haven't even created a new chain. I thought they were creating a new chain yesterday. I saw them, but I don't see them today. Actually, let me check. Maybe some other platform has it now. Yeah, they're forming the chain, but they're not real. They're not live. So maybe they do us a favor. And again, if you can't get a borrow on the stock, borrow it. It's very cheap borrow. And that's the story. That's the whole day. It was a NEGG short. Some of the players in the room were trading the open. As the shorter here, I was waiting for an opportunity to short it because, again, it's a pump and dump, inevitably going to zero, right? But it still looked like it was headed to 750 and still could. This is one squeeze away from a monster breakout, right? But again, that's somebody else's problem. I'm not holding this thing overnight. I'm not cultivating positions. I'm not swing trading anything, because if you put a gun to my head, I probably would rather be long because of this downtrend that it just came out of. It got pumped, dumped, and pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped again. So if they're going to keep pumping it, it's one pump away. You already got over the Kardashian bottom. You came out of the Andy Dufresne. I don't not like this stock, but I'm a day trader who only trades what I see now. So I missed the long trade, fake out, shake out, wonderful breakout, blue line to orange line. Everybody got paid. I missed the trade. So what I do, if I miss something on the upside, doesn't mean I'm going to immediately short it. That's called revenge trading. So what I do is I stalk it, right? I stalk it. And I'm like, you know what? I really want to short this stock. Give me a reason. Give me a trade where I could short it, where there's a limited risk to my short with a possible reward. And we got it. When it rolled over and then it starts to break that 5, hits the VWAP, bounces back to the 505 and didn't get over it, shorted it. And we got back to where it came from. And look, all I wanted was the 480. I got my 480. It started to go a little bit lower, starts to rally. I'm covering on this big green handle right there. And la-di-da, I'm done. And you see now, I could have got right back in. That's why this whole game that we play, and I've been trying to stress this to everybody, you could trade one symbol or the name or the ticker, whatever you want to call it, and you could trade it usually 3 or 4 times in a day. And the reason I like volatility is that trades like PDD yesterday, you'll get more of that kind of action. By the way, hopefully you guys were following through on the PDD short today. Wonderful. 1 minute multi-day VWAP reversal. The trade hasn't failed in 3 years. Oh, let me say that again. I know we have some new people in the room. That's the trade. Remember, I talk about a trade that hasn't failed in 3 years. Stock that report earnings, the day of their earnings, and quite often the 2 days following. If you get a 1 minute multi-day VWAP reversal, it provides you a winning trade every single time on that setup for basically 3 years now. And the track record over the last decade is unbelievable. So what I'm going to do going forward, my friends, is I'm going to take these charts for the people that aren't able to be in the chat room. Being in the chat room is paramount. Being in the chat room, that's the zenith. Being in the chat room is where you want to be because all the ideas inevitably come from the room. The scanners are running. You're picking up a nucky trade. I had no idea we were going to be looking at this trade until we were looking at this trade, and that was around this $7.50 area. But there are going to be trades like the Newegg short that I could give to you pre-market, so you could be prepared with why you're going to short it, where you're going to short it, what your risks are, and what to expect to make. And that's the only way I'm going to do it. Because if I was to give you an alert to your phone, okay, Kenny's shorting whatever, XYZ. And next thing you know, Kenny's buying XYZ. Wait a minute, he just told us to short it, now he's buying it. Sometimes that's how quickly it happens. That's why being in the room and learning this stuff on your own is the best way to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bottle a video. So I'm going to package it. I'm going to package the video itself. So what I do in the room live, I'm going to capture that, send it out. So then you'll know, all right, this is where he's going to short it. This is where he'll probably be covering. And don't forget, and underneath there, if I need to remind you, if you're shorting is short-lived and you're going to die. So if you're in a short position, you know that you have to cover on the way down. You're not going to be delusional and thinking that it's going to work for any extended period of time because the environment we're in right now is not conducive to shorting other than the fade, which is the opening trade. The fade through the VWAP, through the prior day VWAP, will provide you with a winning trade, but you have to take the money. Like even this Trump short that was on, right? You can't say it was a bad trade, but if you held it, you just gave back your entire payday. But the idea was we were looking for it to break the VWAP and go to prior day VWAP, the rigging of the market, as I call it. We have the rigging. I have the cleanest charts in the business because there's nothing on it except what counts, VWAP and prior day VWAP. So if you're going to short something at VWAP, especially at a half number, and it gets down to the prior day VWAP, pretty much near the whole number, you got to take into consideration, hey, that's probably all I'm going to get. You know what? That's how you get paid. And this trade was from 9:30 to 9:33, 3 minutes, and your day's over. Like, what are you trying to do here, right? So the two trades that we were in, or if anybody was in them, I'm assuming, because this is what we do, was Trump short. Now, why was Trump a short this morning? Because it was up in the air in the pre-market, and stocks that are up in the pre-market are susceptible to fading at the open. That's just the fade. When do you play the fade? Through the VWAP. When do you cover? Prior day VWAP. You can't get much more perfect than that. And the orange line, my friends, you'd have to take my word for it, was there before the trade. And that's why we love ourselves some multiple time frame VWAP, or we call it the multi-day VWAP. And when you just trade VWAP to VWAP for a living, and you realize 10 years has gone by and these trades continue to work, you will take everything off your charts, moving averages, 20-day EMAs, or the thousands of other things that you could choose to put on your chart to make it look fancy, like fractals and all bunch of bullshit and Ichiro clouds and Bollinger Bands and regression channels and all this other shit that absolutely is completely worthless. All of it, all of it, all of it. Look how much stuff you can put on a chart, because you got to love the TTM squeeze trading study, don't you? Put that in there with the zigzag percent Woodall's pivot meets the Williams Angler smoothing weakness as a strong trend volume profile upside gap, two crows. I mean, you can't go wrong. Or you could ignore all of that and just trade price, which is the only thing that moves stocks, which is the only thing that counts, which is the only thing we look at. Volume, weighted, average, price. That's who moves the stock. So right now, if you guys want to help me get out of a position, I'd really appreciate it. But I'm short MJ. Why? Because I don't like weed stocks, yes. But I don't like weed stocks, and it broke VWAP. And I covered, I got my blue line, orange line. It's a choppy, annoying stock. But what I'm trying to tell you right now is that weed stocks, they're all worthless. Every single one of them. Tilray, worthless. Cron, worthless. Every stock that's in the MJ index is worthless. And look what the MJ index has done over the last month. It's gone from 20 to basically $37. Why? Because there's rumors of them changing the status of marijuana, which again, as I'm going to debate with the guy that said, oh, I must be dumb as bricks to not understand the enormity of this situation due to the banking restrictions. Yeah, I get it. Still doesn't make Tilray worth anything or Cron. It's a moment where they're getting squeezed, and the moment will pass, and all these stocks will roll over and go to zero. But again, that's my idea, right? Today is the first day I shorted anything because I saw a reason. New high, and then it started to roll through VWAP. That's my cue to short, and that's how I remain in the business for 30 years. I don't think. I have an idea, and then I wait to tell if the market says, you might be right about this. Do something about it. Push button, and then you're waiting. Just like the open, right? The open short. Back in my mind, I'm thinking this stock has a chance to go to 1250. No joke. Not lying, not kidding. I really mean it. That chart looks like something. When this turns and breaks over 6 and change and gets through 750, it could legitimately go to 1250 easy. But what am I looking at here? I'm looking at a move that got from the blue line to the orange line. Usually orange line, you'll find some sellers. That's my idea. Hey, if there's going to be some sellers up there and the stock's already moved, I'm going to take a shot shorting it as it rolls over, not if it rolls over, as it rolls over, not if, when it starts to roll over. All right, maybe I shorted here. I wasn't convinced yet. I wanted to see VWAP, bing, bank, right there. Holds the VWAP, gets back to where I was thinking about shorting it anyway. Now I'm convinced. Now I could short it. 502, 500, and I could use a very tight stop right there at the 10 and the 20. And the idea was just to roll over and hopefully it goes back to the 581. And I got what I wanted. You do 3,000 shares, you make your 25 cents, $750. It's better than a stick in the eye, as my grandmother would say. Apparently, there was a lot of people getting sticks in the eyes back in the 20s, but this was a lot better than getting a stick in the eye. And that is pretty much the whole day. And you got to understand, there is nothing going on. You got to now. You got to step back. You got to wait for that Nvidia report to come out, which is going to be a nothing burger. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they blow out earnings. They're going to make more money than any company on the planet. Right. But then you also consider the stock's up 100% in 3 months. What's it really going to do? Right? It'll be up probably 4 points. Nothing burger, just like any other day. Right? Maybe even have a blow off top moment. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I don't want to get excited. But I want to put this out there. I know. Hold on to your hats, kids. So 3.5 weeks ago on a Friday, on an innocent Thursday evening, when Apple reported earnings and they were all right, and the stock was gapped up, and I said, the only thing that I'm looking forward to tomorrow is if we get an earnings reversal on Apple, which would be my holiday, and it happened, and it was the last sell-off. That was the 3 Fridays ago where we got down to the 550, 158. Now, I might get emotional while I'm saying this. If Nvidia gaps up on earnings and it sells off, it becomes an earnings reversal, I know the market, it might go down for a couple hours that day too. I know it's going to be awesome. I hope it happens. I'm actually getting emotional thinking about it. I miss it when the market would actually go down every once in a while. It's starting to hurt my feelings. I'm a true bear, and I'm not a bear because I want everything to go to zero and everybody to lose their money. I want activity. I want something to do. Does anybody notice volatility is awesome for us, right? You're not all sitting here delusional bulls who just buy everything and buy at 9:30 and sell at 4 o'clock. It's better when you get some volatility. You need the market to get hammered so that we can buy some dips and feel better about the dip buy, not these measly, meandering, nothing pullbacks. But if Nvidia turns into an earnings reversal, we're going to have ourselves a really nice sell-off because the market is now. I'm laughing when I say that the market's due. It's due to pull back. It's due. And I'm only talking about testing lows from 3 weeks ago. That's all I want. I want 20 points, right? We're due. And it's the seasonality moment. And the wheat stocks are going. And the Chinese stocks are going. We're in the dash for trash. Everything's pointing that a correction is right around the corner any day now. Any day now. Any day now. And we'll be saying that probably all through September, all the way to October, any day now. Man, the Qs are hitting all-time highs any day now. Wow, they're at 620 now, any day now. And then they'll be at 700, and you'll still be waiting for the market to pull back. Because that's how it is right now. And that's the way it is. Huh! So, we had our fun with some Newegg. Hope you guys crushed Groupon. I really thought, Groupon and Newegg were kind of indicators also. But like I've been saying, what used to indicate that the market was topping out, none of that works anymore. So we got to start writing new books and new catchphrases. So while I'm here, I got pretty much nothing going on. You guys got any questions, concerns going forward? Would that be an interesting service that you get an inside look? What I'm planning to do is try to do 2 or 3 a day. Just, get them out after the earnings come out, because most of the earnings in the morning come out 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. Within a half an hour, I'll know exactly what I want to be looking at. I know which stocks I'm going to focus on. Obviously, I know the setup, what works. Bottle it, package it, video with a voiceover giving you the directions, and send that out each morning. I think it'd be huge, especially if you don't want to be in a chat room all day. And by the way, that description of what I just said, this is what I do in the chat room every day live since 2007. What stocks we're trading, why we're going to trade them, where we're going to trade them, what the risk parameters are, and hopefully what our reward is. And then usually I'm here milking the trade with you and kind of guiding you through it, especially reminding you not so subtly that shorting is short-lived and you're going to die. But I don't have to remind you every day. The market reminds you by doing this every freaking time. Faux show, bro. Faux show, bro. So, again, if you're playing by the rules, there's no way you're short the Qs anymore. Right? You not only had a cover, but it was a reason to go long right there. So just virtually impossible to be a shorter. Yeah, well, if you're going to be short Nucky, I don't dislike the idea. And if you did it already, I'm a big fan of yours. So there you go. It's probably halted. Oh, yeah, I was going to say. So stocks like this, and this is where you need a better platform. They'll give you a little 15, sometimes 10 to 15-second heads up that the stock's going to get halted. So when they have these thin stocks with huge volume, sometimes they can't stay open because the circuit breakers keep getting triggered on the upside and the downside. So you had upside halt, upside halt, upside halt, downside halt, downside halt. Usually coming out of the downside halt, you're going lower. But what would be interesting about this now is, that one price right there, you definitely cannot be short. Like my other trade here, another worthless stock, OPAD, right? I tried, I shorted, I started shorting on the rollover. And then I was like, oh, I think I'm getting faux show broed. And I kind of did. But when I was like, all right, they're going to probably bring it back to 4. So I shorted some at 395. And then it got to the 4. And right there, if it would have broke back above the point where it failed here and the double bottom there, I would have had to eat the loss. But it started to roll over. So I shorted more. But again, keeping in mind that shorting is short-lived and I'm going to die, when it got down to these points where I was like, hey, I just turned a loss into a gain. Let me get out, tighten up my stop, and make sure I don't get beat on this trade. And again, and you want to hear the funny story about OPAD? You guys know about OPAD? Nobody knows about OPAD. You know why that stock's moving? Because it has an O and a P in it. That's it. Sounds funny, right? But that's probably the case. Open's been on fire and people started hitting the wrong button. Hey, what's this OPAD? I don't know. It's ripping. Buy it. And this thing went nuts yesterday. You guys know about this stock? It's had a couple of pumps in the past. Bang, 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 bang. And look at the pump that it got yesterday. 495. 495. You would think that's virtually impossible, but there it is. It went some pump and dump piece of garbage, $2 stock just happened to go right back to the same price. And so when I saw that, I was like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to come in. I'm going to look to short it. And then, of course, I was a little late. Wait, let's talk about the Nucky. Hang on. Let's walk you through this trade. All right. You ready? All right. The halt high. So if you're short and it breaks the halt high candle, you probably want to get the heck out. And then the breakdown price is right here. That's one of your stops. And then obviously VWAP. What? Sorry. But right now, Captain Obvious, you want to stay short, right? Because you didn't break the high candle of the halt itself. So now that you're getting paid, right? You're in this candle, you're about to get into that candle. So now you got to cover. Oh, well, they're going to halt it. Cover some here. If you're short and it's getting halted on the downside, that's good. But you still want to get out. You got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. They're going to halt it. Bang, halted. So now you got to wait, right? So now the next candle, when it comes out of the halt, that's going to be your new stop. And chances are you're going to get into this prior candle. So you should be expecting this thing to plummet right to the low of that candle, which is 6. So at least this is something exciting to watch, right? Not much else going on. And again, that's kind of the game here, right? There's not a lot going on. You'll find more of the $2, $5 stocks ripping all over the place because people are just sitting at their desk and we're all degenerate psychos. And that's the game. And that's why, again, there has been a new generation and a new generation and a new generation of traders and investors and speculators. There's so many moving parts now. It is very difficult to think this market's ever going down. And even the crypto market. I mean, there's over 30 million coins out there now. That's a real number. I'm going to create one too. And by the way, when I create one, it's going to be legit. And when I tell you when I tell you guys to get involved. It's going to be something special. And I won't be a corrupt CEO who dumps it all on you on the first day, because I want it to work. And if you guys got involved in that SPAC, congratulations. It was an $11 SPAC. Some of us cashed out yesterday at $52. Let's give it up to that guy. I don't know if anybody watched the SPAC that I was involved in. Port. Don't buy it now. It's bulletin board. They're going to get promoted soon, but that was us here. And $11 went to 53. Thank you very much. I don't think anybody still owns it, but they are going to be becoming a movie studio called Angel. And they have some movies that did well. So it's an interesting play. But now they're pumping their stock on Facebook and all these weird commercials now. I think that's what got it going. But whatever got it going, it was 53, 52 bid yesterday. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Anywho, by the way, speaking of swing trading, is anybody in any of those names I gave you a couple of weeks ago? How about Jumama, right? Remember Jumama? I gave it to you a couple of weeks ago. I said this is ready for an epic squeeze, right? Coming out of Andy Dufresne. Here's the Andy Dufresne pattern. You had the fake out, shake out. And then you had the Andy Dufresne Kardashian bottom at 375. What did I say you're going to go to? Roughly 8 to 850. You're at 9 now. Congratulations if you're in it. And if anybody owns the mob, don't sell it. We're finally over 5, right? If it crashes, then you sell it, which is basically you're going to have to, give back a considerable amount of money. I'm not getting out. And I'm thinking about buying more. And if this stock is above 666, which is an all-time high, I'll be buying that break too. Because I love stocks that break all-time highs in markets that never go down. And this one has been pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, and then pumped again, dumped again, and now pumped again. Starting to believe. Uptrend intact until it's not. Again, you don't know when they're going to dump it, but drones, Israeli drone company. And if somebody knows how to light up terrorists, it's the Israelis and their drones. Big fan. Plus the symbols mob. How do you not love it? I wish it had options because I'd be in some options right now, but it doesn't have enough volume. Once it starts getting some volume and a little bit more people know about it, hopefully they start creating some 5s and 750s. That would really legitimize the stock. But until that time, still like it. You guys were with me when I sold the Palantir at 182.50 that day and got short, right? I sold some 95 puts on Palantir. I don't really own the stock anymore, but I still like it. But let's go back to Nookie right now. If you guys are waiting for it to come out of the halt, really the only thing that's been going on this morning. All right, Nookie. It's out. Now, if you're short, right, the first candle high print is your out, right? So if it breaks that candle high out of the hole, you're out. If you happen to be short. And there they come for you. So it's 85. Look, it never got to 85. So if you have a stop, it would be 685. And then hopefully you get printed. But, with stock like this, your stop gets triggered. You're probably going to get printed at 7 or 720 because it's that type of stock. So, all right, you see what it did do right here? You see how it went to go see the candle right down there? Because that's how the market's programmed, right? So like I said, if it gets into this candle, it'll search for the bottom of the candle. And this is when I say I know more about this than anybody on earth. I do. It's not a debate, right? I've seen every situation, every halt, every dog shit stock, every manipulated move. I've seen it all. Coming out of halts, I know how to trade it, right? What are you going to do? You're going to go searching for that bottom candle, right? So now you got a cover, right? And now your stop is the top of this candle now because you got to the bottom of that candle. You're not going to let it go ripping against the 685. So now you lower your stop a little bit, call it 665 and lock it up. Now the question is, who's crazy enough to buy 665? Not me. I'm not. But let's say it goes 665, 685, rips to 725, pulls back and holds 685. It's a whole different thing. Right now, I would just look to cover my short. I wouldn't be crazy enough to go long the stock. But right now, you're still short, right? 665, 685s. It's one halt away from getting into a new gap. So you got to be thinking this thing's going to 522 once it breaks that 6 or the 595, really. Newsmax, really? Where is it? Well, it's not back. All right, so here, look. If you tightened up your stop, they went and got you some of you, right? But you're still short because your other stop is the 85. All right, so now you know you're using 85. Now the question is, who's buying? Not me. And here's another thing. Again, sometimes the pumps and the dump happens all in one day. For all you know, is the stock's going to be at zero by the end of the day, right? I would rather see this thing chop, rally, pull back. It's got to do a lot to convince me to want to buy it. But you know what would be ultra convincing? Back above VWAP later, if it puts in a faux show bro and breaks VWAP, as VWAP's trailing down a little bit, maybe VWAP comes down to 780, you get some chop, consolidation, set up, reason to buy. Don't buy because you are in a speculative move on a boring Tuesday afternoon because you think something's going to happen. That's how you lose all your money when the stock gets halted and opens up at zero. So now when it breaks 6, hopefully you guys are still short. Big bidder, usually that's a seller. See what happens when they hit them the second time. And this 6 break should bring you to the top of that candle, which is 521. And if you're still short, I'm rooting for you. Kill it. Kill it. But you see how it held the whole number? Part of the program. Just part of the program. Big fat whole numbers, man. They always come into play. So now between 6 and 685, if it rolls over and breaks 6 after not getting anything going on the upside, that next should be the breakdown. But they're not going to make it easy. But if you're short, stay short, right? You already made some money. What's another 50-cent risk? 685 or bust. So if anybody's interested in anything I was just talking about, by the way, we're not schmoozing anymore until probably October. I'm going to be putting together a package with the schmooze, text alerts, the alerts, a lot of things that I'm going to be doing for people who can't make it to the chat room, right? Schmooze Thursday night, and then maybe some, Thursday night is what I'm kind of describing also, where I prepare for what I want to do on Friday the night before. And then same kind of thing. Thursday night's a good time to get involved, with us, see what's up, get an insight of how we put these ideas together, where they're coming from. If you don't know about what I'm talking about, I do a Thursday night show called The Schmooze. We usually have a guest on, just preparing for options Fridays. And it's awesome because that little preparation the night before, you come in, you know what you're doing, you know what you're ready for. And then when those ideas start to be validated or you get permission from VWAP, you already know what you're going to do. That's how to make money. You prepare for something, and then the next day, you let the VWAP tell you whether or not you have permission to do so. And then it's a great feeling. It's nice when what you think is then being validated by the market. It's also a great feeling to take the other side of a trade that you were planning on doing. I forgot what trade it was, but I don't know, some Chinese stock a couple of weeks ago. The last thing I wanted to do was buy it, but it faux show broed and broke over VWAP. I was like, all right, I guess I got to buy it, even though I didn't want to buy it. Speaking of that, PDD, new lows, right? All right. This thing going to break 6 or what? Come on. Now, if they stack the bid, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They stack it and smash it. So you see there's no size on either side. Usually they'll start stacking the side to pretend that it's going to hold. So the idea of the old school tape reading is that the market makers want to buy some stock, right? They want to buy some. So they go on the bid with some size. Hey, we want to buy. Now it's more like a spoof, right? They're trying to pretend their size on the bid, and all they're going to do is hit the bid, which I think is about to happen. So usually they'll stack it. They don't even. You had a little bit right there. You see them? You see how they stacked the bid for a second? Bang! They smashed right through it, right? You didn't even see it. It happened so fast. They flashed about 300, and they just smashed the guy. So now, again, this is not the enormous downside move I was hoping for. I thought you'd get at least 50 cents immediately, but if you're still short, work it, right? And now that you broke under a new level, by law, you're supposed to lower your stop to, let's call it, now you got to lock it up to like that 645 area, and you just keep working the order all the way down to 0. There you go. Follow through now. Let's go. Time to get paid, right? Now, let's say it starts to go sideways and chop around, and they start putting big size on the offer, pretending that there's an overhead supply, and you see that getting gobbled up, cover and go long, because that's the game. They show the size on the side to try to deceive you. That's why when we first started trading back in 1997, and we had access to level 2s, it was magic because they didn't lie. Goldman Sachs goes high bid, Merrill Lynch follows. Those dudes were looking to buy some stock. And then you could soz in and select net out to the highest bidder. And that was the game. That game don't exist anymore. But back then, when the retail trader, the reason it was so special was that we had access to things that nobody had access to finally. And it leveled the playing ground. Inevitably, they needed to unlevel it by changing it to decimals because we had an advantage finally, and they took the advantage away. And then they invented high frequency trading, and then getting in between the millipennies, anything to prevent the common man to making money is what the market does. Don't ever forget that. It's all big one manipulative game. It's all rigged. And that's why you swear by VWAP, you see the rigging of the market. If you only look at price, you see the rigging. And then you'll never unsee it. And then you hang with us, and we show it to you every day. And that's it. Yeah, Neo on fire. That stock caught on fire a couple of weeks ago. I think they reported earnings, and it actually stayed strong after earnings, which is unheard of because it's not even a real car company. They don't make cars. There's no such thing as a Neo car. Doesn't exist. Nothing out of China is real. They built fake cities. No, they're car companies. They don't make cars. But you consolidate it, a yearly VWAP, and you break out, go for it, rock. Inevitably, stock's going to go to zero. But the fact that Chinese stocks are rallying, to me, that's just bearish for the overall market because they're all scams and they're all worthless. And that's not just my opinion, it's a fact. And if you need to watch that movie again, it's called China Hustle, about the scams of IPOs and fake companies in China and fake cities and fake CEOs, and everything's fake. And they were complicit with the investment banking firms of our country. And the worst of the worst were the regulators who were paid off to allow this stuff onto our market. Kind of why I'm a bear, right? Because the whole game is bullshit. Bringing worthless companies that they knew didn't exist onto the market. I mean, how could you trust anything? That's why I'd rather try to trade in 45-minute, 2-hour increments than to try to figure out what's going to happen 3 months or 6 months down the road. Now, again, I think we all know where the market's going to be 6 months from now, right? Just buy the cues. All right, this nookie trade, if anybody happened to be short, all right, nice trade. So I will see you at 2 o'clock. And then if you guys, I got a podcast I'm recording today. It's on my channel, Hit the Bid Radio on YouTube. I'll give you the link. Hold on. If anybody's interested in anything I've been talking about, just feel free to contact me. I've also started doing private sessions. What's up, Bill? How are you? Bill had a good session. If some people just need a little private session, a little one-on-one coaching, I started getting into it again because I do have some free time between 1 and 3 generally every day. And do you know why I'm free between 1 and 3 every day? The answer is because there's not really much going on. All right. So reach out to me. Got a lot of great things. I'm only 53 years old. You got another good 7 years out of me, right? Till my head probably spontaneously combusts at 70. And have a great day. It's been nice hanging with you. Thanks for being here.